Okay, so now that we've removed the full assembly and the 3 flex cables from the logic board, we are going to get in, remove the battery and logic board, and see how this thing's put together. So we're going to put this assembly aside. If you want to see how to remove all these components, replace the front or screen, change colors, or just play with your phone, of course we have other videos that will walk you through that either on our YouTube channel or at iCracked.com. So we're going to put this assembly aside, and we're going to dig right in and see what we can come up with. We've already removed the SIM card and the shield connecting these display assemblies. So the first thing to do is let's remove the battery. To do that, we need to remove some screws that are connecting the battery to the logic board. So it looks like we have 2 screws right here, screws 1 and 2. I'll try to get in a little closer so you guys can see it. So here's screws 1 and 2. And it's always helpful to put these screws on a magnetic mat, which we sell, which will walk you through all the ins and outs of this repair, and you don't have to worry about losing these screws. So here are the 2 screws removed, and we are going to grab this little shield, which is sticks to a little magnet right there. So we're going to remove this shield, and this would be used for a battery replacement. So to replace the battery, you can see that it's attached to the logic board right there, and we're going to use a plastic or nylon spudger tool, and we're going to gently pop it up off the connection, so it should pop off very easily. So as you can see right there, battery is now disconnected, and there's a nice pull tab that should help you remove the battery. In the event that you rip off this tab, which isn't uncommon, while you're doing this, you can use the nylon tool you're going to want to pry against the frame instead of against the logic board. You don't want to damage anything on the logic board. So if you want to try just kind of wiggling this and seeing if this works, I don't want to rip that because the phone's only a couple hours old. We're going to use the nylon tool, as you can see right there. So we pull up this battery, very similar to how the batteries in the 4S and the iPhone 4, both GSM and CDMA are. So now we can do this little pull tab, and you can see the battery right here is a 3.8 volt, 5.45 watt hour battery. Of course, which we sell in case you need to replace it. Very easy replacement. What we're going to be doing right now is continue removing some of these screws. We just removed that EMF shield, and so we're going to need a flathead to remove another one of these 2 flathead screws. So one down here. Alright, so it looks like there's a connector right here that is wired up right there, and there's a screw under it. We're not going to risk hurting that cable, so we're going to just gently pop one off. Careful you don't knock any transistors or resistors off the board. So we're going to knock that off. You can gently fold it back, and it looks like there's a second one right under it. So we can pull that back, and then you can see a Phillips head that was a little hidden under there that you're going to have to remove. So remove that Phillips head. We'll put that right there. And moving on up, we can see that there's a little clip holding this down, which looks like it's attached to the camera assembly. So we're going to pop this one off. I'm going to put that up there. And another clip to the top right of that. So these are all most different screw sizes, so just keep track of that. And then we'll see what we can do with the logic board, or if there's any other screws. It looks like there's a screw right here on the right side. And you can see that there's where the SIM card slides right in and connects. And then it looks like there's a couple connections to the logic board we're going to need to pry off. So don't use metal on this. You don't want to damage anything, so gently pry off right there. And moving on up, it looks like we're going to have to pry off this flex cable. And it looks like there's a little adhesive held on, so you don't want to hurt any of these cables, or you don't want to rip them. So you're going to be pulling it off, and as you can see right there, we're exposing a lot of this logic board, which is good. And moving on up, we'll see what else we have to disconnect. It looks like there's a wire running right here, so we're going to disconnect this one. So you can see that you just popped that cable off, and then following up, there's another cable right under, or there's another screw right under there that we're going to get. So we're going to remove this first, and we've removed these 2 screws, so we're going to pop this off, and we're going to put that up where we have the other 2 screws. So you want to keep track of all these. So here's the camera and flash. and it looks like it's on the logic board, but there's another Phillips head screw under it. So we're going to get to that Phillips head screw. So we've removed that Phillips head, and we'll go ahead and put that right under there. As you can see, we're keeping track of all the screws. And let's just see how the logic board's doing. It looks like we're getting a little bit of movement on it, which is good. So it looks like we've removed most of the screws with the exception of this connector right here that looks like it's soldered on. So that's probably going to come off. A lot of metal-to-metal connectors on this logic board, but let's just try to remove it and see if we got everything. So there looks like there's 2 screws right on this top right there that we're going to have to get. So just dive in with your Phillips head. So we're going to put that aside, and it's important to keep all these screws separate. And it looks like there's another one to the left of it, so we're going to remove that as well. So it looks like this logic board should be fairly easy to get out. So we're going to be pulling it, make sure we're not tearing anything, and then it looks like the camera needs to unclip to come out with the logic board. And then there's the connector we were talking about. It looks like it's going to be a little fickle to remove, so we're going to use a plastic spudger tool and pop that off. And then you can see that the logic board just pops off of this antenna. It looks like an antenna connection. So just to break down what we've done, we've removed quite a bit of screws. So let's take a look at this iPhone frame. You can see where the machine work was done, where the logic board connects to it. This is extremely light. You're going to be very surprised when you're holding it how light this actually really is. You can see the bottom speaker, microphone, and vibrator are still attached on the logic board. And then we also have where the home button connections, audio jack, lightning bolt connection, speaker, and microphone still attached as well. And then you can see the light diffuser for the camera is actually built in right there. And then the microphone is still wired onto the logic board as well through these ribbon and flex cables. I mean, it's very, very complex internals. And then you can see the vibrator. What's interesting about this vibrator is this was actually the same design that they used in the iPhone 4 GSM vibrator, and they changed up the vibrator design for the CDMA iPhone 4 and then the 4S, and then it looks like they've gone back to this design probably to save space. But I'm not quite sure about that. But we'll keep checking out this, and then we'll see what's on the logic board. So as you can see, the logic board, the 8 megapixel camera and flash is connected by two screws that you could remove. So we'll just remove it and see what's going on with this. And then we're going to be removing the camera connection from the logic board. So you're going to use your pry tool, and you can see it pops right off. Very similar camera to the iPhone 4S. So we're going to put that aside, and I mean you're really getting down to a fairly granular level of these logic boards now, which is good. Well, I'm sure we'll do comparisons between these and the 4 and 4S, and see what is the similarities and differences between them. So just looking at the antenna connections, there's a lot of antenna connections. And it looks like there's just a lot of stuff going on that we're excited to figure out how this is all put together. Moving on over here, we can continue the disassembly, and let's take out the lightning port. So we're going to need our Phillips head. There's 2 screws, left and the right. Look like they're the same size screws. So we've removed that, and it looks like we're going to be removing this whole speaker assembly, which looks like 3 more screws. So 3 more Phillips heads. And it looks like with those 3 screws, we'll see what we can do. We're going to be learning on the fly because this is our first time taking it apart. It looks like there's 2 more screws under it, so we're going to get those. 2 more smaller Phillips heads. So it looks like we're about to be able to remove the lightning connector, which we're excited about. So we're gonna gently pry up and see if, try to be careful that we're not breaking anything. You can see an antenna connection and then the lightning port right there. So we're gonna use our nylon spudger, and then look at that. So you can see where the microphone is attached, slides down right there, and we'll see what we can do to get this off. Okay, so you see the flex cable where it attaches right there, and it looks like we're going to have to use a little bit of a heat gun to remove this. So let's see about that. Maybe grab some tweezers. So it looks like there's a pretty extensive dot connector, and they did a really good job on the speaker right there. It's a bigger speaker than we've seen before. So we're going to be removing this. You want to be gentle with it because you're removing these flex cables, and looks like that just pops off like that. So let's check out what we have right here, or we'll move the logic board up. Okay, so what we have right here is you have your speaker, your microphone, your audio jack, all connected with what looks like an antenna wire, your lightning port. Flip it over. Here's where it connects on the logic board. I mean, very, very intricate work on how this is all put together. You can see where it grounds out, and then where this actually is the home button connection right there. So I mean, this is a pretty complex part, and of course we'll be doing these repairs if something should go wrong. We're getting to the really bare bones of this frame. You can see where the battery clips in right there, and I can't tell you how incredibly light this is. Looks like we have some little micro washers. We'll get those out. And then let's see what we have left. So we have the wiring on the frame for the volume buttons, mute buttons. You can see where they're attached. You have the clips for the frame, how it fits in. You can see where the clips actually clip in right there. So you can drop that in. And then we also have what looks like the vibrator on a cable that's running across and then connects to the logic board, as well as your secondary microphone for your 8 megapixel camera. So now that we've completely disassembled the phone from logic board, speakers, about 90% of the internal components, and we have just a frame, the button wiring and the vibrator are still on there, we are going to reassemble this. And keep in mind that the iPhone's been out for only a couple hours, so we're gonna do this on the fly, but you guys should be able to keep up with it if you're doing this at home. I mean, we're having a lot of fun with this device, so let's get started. So first thing to do is gonna be to put the lightning connector back in. You can see that with adhesive it's connected to the speaker, and the speaker actually flips over like that. So we are going to we'll straighten out this looks like it came off. So we're gonna drop the lightning connector back in, and it's gonna be important to line up. You see the microphone, how it has a pretty interesting mesh right there. It's gonna be important to line up the microphone with where we pulled it out, and then the audio jack, and then we're going to screw everything in. So we're going to use our nylon spudger for this. So you're going to gently bend it up and then drop it in like that. Okay, so now that we've got that in, we're going to set this down, and you got to be careful that you don't mess with the antenna wire coming out there. You don't want to stress it out at all. And then so as we're going to push it down, and we're going to drop everything back into its place. You should start feeling how everything's supposed to be connected. So we're going to start throwing these screws back on. Keep in mind there's a good amount of screws to put on, so we're going to try to do this fast. So you have the 2 small screws that are attached at the base of the lightning connector, and then you have 2 larger ones directly above it. So we're going to do that, and then you got to make sure that your you're reconnecting all the little metal bridges on these screws. So there's one right here that you can see. You gotta push it down. And then we're using a spudger to hold it in place while we're about to reconnect it. So there's the connecting, the lightning connector being put back on. Then we have our two bigger screws right above it, so we'll grab those. They have a little bit of Loctite on them. So we got one in. And these are some of the longest screws in the iPhone, so we're going to put the second one in. And then we're going to do all the 3 or 4 screws that are on the sides. So we got the majority of these back in. We got to grab that one. Good. All right, so we got all the right screws back in place. If you accidentally put the wrong one in, that's fine. You can put another one in. So let's keep moving forward with this. The next couple things we're going to do is let's put the camera back on the logic board. So you're going to flip it over and you can see where the camera actually connects right there. And so we're going to grab the 8 megapixel camera and it will just clip in. You can hear it clipped in. And then we have the little shield that goes over it. So it's right over here. Okay, and then there's these 2 screws that we saved for that. They're very small. And we're going to just screw those into the logic board. See how fast it screws in. So we have the camera on, and we can go ahead and start thinking about the next steps for putting in the logic board. Keep in mind that the logic board has a antenna connector right here on this base right there that is actually connects to this wire right here. So this is going to be a sensitive process, or you have to be sensitive while you're doing this, and you can't crush any of these wires. So we're going to zoom in on it, and then we're going to be connecting this base. So I think the best way to do it is going to be coming in like this, and then making sure you're not crushing any of these components. We can see where it needs to be connected, and we can see the connector. So we're going to use our tweezers and clip that on. Now we've clipped it on. Be very careful because you're gonna want to seat it correctly. So we're going to drop this back. You feel the logic board pop into place. Feel the logic board pop into place, and then apply a little bit of pressure, and I just felt it clip in. So that clips in, and then let's do the second clip. The second clip is right there. We're going to zoom in on it. So the second clip right here, we're going to pick up with our tweezers. You can bend this flex cable back. Be careful though. And we're going to bring it over here. And if you crush one of these clips, it's not the end of the world. It can be fixed, but it's difficult to. So if you crush one of these, you can see right here where my tweezers are. You're going to have to use either tweezers or a spudger to reform that metal circle. But so the best way to do is just do very light attachments. So if it fits, you'll feel it fit, and you'll know when it's clipped in, and then you can wiggle it around to make sure it's in there tight. And then you'll know that the antenna is clipped in. So it clips in. Yeah, I felt 2 little pops, so we're in right there. And then so what we're going to do now is while we're here, we'll just fold over this ribbon cable, and then connect it on the logic board. Make sure it's the right length, and it should clip in as well. You gotta baby it. Don't ever force these connections, but you'll see that it just clipped in. And remember, when we were disassembling it, there's that fickle screw that's right under these wires. So let's put that one back in. And if you forget about it, it's putting it back in. It may not be the end of the world, but we're always trying to put them exactly how they were assembled. So we're gonna clip on the bottom one first, and so this is another one of those sensitive connections. So we're gonna clip this one on. Do it very gently. So you guys heard that click in, and we're going to click the second one that actually is right on top of this. And you want to do this just as gently. So you can feel them click. So you just felt both those click, and you can see where they're attached up here, 1 and 2. So let's drop the camera into place. You can see that the camera flash is bent over on the wrong side, so we're going to push the camera into place right there, and then you can turn the flash a little bit and just drop that down into place. So we'll look at how it's angled, and then we'll probably be able to clip it into place right there. So you can see how the camera fits right there. Moving forward, we have our flathead screws, and we'll throw this ribbon cable on right now while we're here, just to get it out of the way. So you can see that ribbon cable clipped in, and you'll be able to tell that these are all clipping in. These 3 connectors are for your digitizer, LCD, and ear speaker on the assembly. You can see these 3 connectors, which we went over. So what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be putting the 3 flatheads back in here, and screws actually go on top of these flatheads. So we're going to take one of the flatheads, and we're going to put it right here, and we're going to screw the logic board back in. So you're going to feel it thread in pretty well. We're going to take another one of the flatheads, and these are bigger screws. They're actually drilled out and routed to accept other smaller screws, smaller screws going on top of them. So we're going to grab one of those, and we'll put it back on the logic board. So we have 2 of them back on. As you can see, we just did that one right above the battery connector, and then the third and final one goes right above that antenna that we had just connected, and it doesn't appear like this one is going in very well, so we're going to use some tweezers and drop it in, and then screw that in. Alright, so now that we have those 3 screws in, we're going to continue putting the rest of the screws. So we have another one that goes right there, which looks like a Phillips head. Okay, so we have some screws right there, and then let's, while we're on the while we're working here, the battery's going to be one of the last things that we put on. So let's get up here, and then we'll drop the drop this back on there. So if you remember, we had removed 2 screws, and these are very important. 2 screws, 1 and 2. So we need to get those screws and make sure that they are they're put on properly. And I think they're up here, so let's grab those. They're very small screws, but it's very important that we get these 2 in, because these bridge connections. So we're going to grab one, gently put it in. Don't try to force these, you don't want to strip them. And then the second screw. So now that we got these 2 screws on, I can't stress how important those are. We're going to be attaching what holds the camera and that frame down, and it's held down by 3 screws, but we'll drop this in. So if you can watch. Okay, so we have that in. We're the smallest screws on the top. Larger screw on the bottom. You can feel that's tight, and it's holding the flash and the camera and the assembly in. The camera, you can feel it fits very well where it's supposed to be. So what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be screwing the vibrator screw back in, so you can see the circle. And you can see exactly how it fits. You can drop it down and see that it just helps hold the vibrator in place. So we are going to be putting that in. So we have a round screw. Okay, so you can see that's clipping in well. Then we have a smaller screw that is going to do the second clip right there. So we have that second screw in, and you can really see how all the internal components are really fitting together well. So let's keep moving forward. We have another shield that needs to be on this connection with 2 screws, so we're going to drop that shield down, and this not only holds the connection to the logic board, this is your what charges your battery, what gives you your bottom speaker, what gives you your bottom microphone, and your audio jack. So it's a very important ribbon cable to have on correctly that is undamaged. And this, one of them will thread onto the top of a flathead, which we had used. So we're going to put this on and make sure it's lined up appropriately, and then we'll tighten it down. So we have those 2 screws, and then actually this screw you leave undone, and for the battery connector there's 2 more screws. So we only screwed in 1 right there. For the battery connector there's 2 screws, 1 and 2, and it would actually go in over that, and you'll see how that fits in when we're putting in the battery. So we're actually just at about the battery step. So you lift up this tab, you don't want the battery under it. This tab actually sticks out and hangs out over there over the SIM card tray. And we are going to be dropping the battery into place like this. And you want to use your thumb to guide it and clip it in so you don't short anything out. Don't use any metal when you're dealing with the battery. So you see the battery is fully connected now, and we can actually apply the battery shield right here over it, and it goes over that other shield, that second shield. So you can see how everything is starting to fit very appropriately. So let's screw those 2 in. Alright, so we have those 2 screws in, and you can see everything's really coming back together. This space is going to be open because you're going to be dropping down some of the components from the screen. As you'll see, these components fit right there. You can go ahead and put your SIM card back in, just to hold it's just another little simple way to hold the logic board in place. And then we're going to be reconnecting the display assembly to this. So let's go ahead and start reconnecting that. So to reconnect, we're going to flip this up, all the components. If you need to see how to repair any of this display assembly, we have a complete walkthrough on removing all the components for new ones. If you crack, break it, want to change colors to black or white, we don't do any other colors besides black or white. You can do that. Visit us on our website. So we're going to go through how to reconnect this display assembly to the reassembled logic board. So there's 3 connections. There's your digitizer, your LCD, and then your bottom connection, which is your front-facing camera, your ear speaker, your third microphone. So this has 3 microphones, and then your proximity sensors right here, and your ambient light sensors right there as well, and your speaker. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be gently lifting these up. Do not stress these out, and you just want to clip in that first wire. So you clip in the bottom wire first, and you can hear it click in. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be attaching the front display assembly, which includes your digitizer, your LCD under it, your plate, speaker, proximity sensor, ambient light sensor, front-facing camera, third microphone, and home button. We're going to be attaching this to this frame. So it's very simple. There's 3 wires. You have your camera wire, your LCD, and your digitizer wire. And the camera wire controls your earphone and all the other sensors on there. If you're trying to replace this broken screen or just change colors from black to white or white to black, we sell the kits to do that, and we'll even walk you through everything you'll need to know to do that replacement. But right now we'll go over how to attach this back onto the iPhone 5. And you see there's 3 connections onto the logic board. We have our LCD, digitizer, and then all your electronics built onto this frame. So we're going to attach the first one, which is under it. So if you watch closely, my finger's going, and we're feeding that first one under it, and you'll feel it click in. So you hear it click in, and then that's great. So you take the second one, right above it, and you click that in. You can feel that click in, and these should be fairly audible. And then your third electronics wire and small electronics on it, and you'll feel it in, and then you can click it in. You don't want to bend any of these too much, so there. You'll feel it click in. So what we're doing right here is we've attached the 3 wires, and we're going to be attaching the shield over it that holds them to the logic board. So there's 3 screws, and we're going to drop that in. You see right here, drops in. and you want to apply a little pressure to it as you're lining it up. When you line it up, you're going to hold it with one hand and grab the 3 screws with the other. We're going to be putting on one of the screws. I always do the bottom right first because it will hold the other 2 in line. So we got that. We have 2 more screws, a big one and a small, or 2 little smaller ones. So we have attached all 3 of those screws. Make sure it's tight, that we're not stressing out anything. Make sure nothing is sticking out besides these contact points for the home button, and then we can go about closing up the phone and testing functionality. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the same clamshell design we did as opening it, like that. We're going to hold the apply pressure up here. There's little teeth that will grip under the frame. You can see it right there. There's little teeth that you need to clip under the frame. And then you're going to slowly and gently drop it down. So we're slowly and gently dropping it down at this angle, and you're gonna don't force anything. You don't want to break the screen, but you'll see that you can actually fit these clips in, and you're going to hear it click in. So there's 1, there's 2, and so the final clips. You don't want to force it, but you just want to make sure everything fits in and how it was meant to fit in. Okay, so remember, the last 2 screws are your 2 pentalobe screws. Let's power it on to make sure it's powering on. As we're going to test it, let's put in the 2 pentalobe screws. So bottom 2 screws. It's on, and it looks like our iPhone 5 powered on. I'll clean the screen real fast. So iPhone 5 powered on, and we'll make sure everything's working functionally. I mean, it's good. Siri's working. So I mean, yeah, so thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys got a kick out of it. We've had a blast making these videos. We picked up this iPhone this morning at the Palo Alto Apple store at 8 a.m. and we did the complete teardown by 12:08. So guys, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to visit us online at iCracked.com. We're always here to help you guys, and we have hundreds of locations worldwide that will either do these replacements for you, walk you through it, and are just all around just incredible iTechs. So please visit us at iCracked.com, and I hope you guys have a good day.